Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of Otome Shimai.
I'm Vicky,
And I'm Vika.
and we are sisters who play Otome games.
Today is our first episode, so we'll be kind of talking about whatever comes to mind and see where the conversation takes us.
It'll probably be more organized in the future, so let us know what you like and don't like, and we can adjust in the future.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't want to route out exactly like what we want to talk about, but I do want to have talking points.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that I can think of right now are the things that are most recent for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I were to go back to the games that we played years and years and years ago,
Yeah, we're gonna have to
refigure out what the plotline was and even stuff. Because I honestly don't even remember what the plotline was for
Hakuoki.
Not Hakuoki necessarily, because that's like really popular, but like Fix the Time Arrows.
Oh yeah, Beyond the Future Fix the Time Arrows was a while ago. I only vaguely remember Hanasaku Mani Mani. I remember all of our inside jokes from Hanasaku Mani Mani.
Actually, I remember Hanasaku Mani Mani much better than I remember Beyond the
Future Fix the Time Arrows.
What a terrible name for a
game. And it had nothing to do with time arrows.
There was nothing to do with time.
And future, it was all in one time period.
Yeah, there was no future. There was no arrows.
There were some arrows. Your husband did the arrows. Nate.
Oh, he was my favorite.
Yeah, you got to have puppies.
The puppy babies.
You're allergic to dogs.
I know. That's a shame.
What have...
We can talk about the more recent ones. So
we've got Ike-sen.
We've got
Color Times Malice. Piofiore. Diabolic Lovers. And for you, it's the one that you can never remember.
God, what is the title of the game that I can never remember?
Code Realize.
The first one.
It's true. We've been trying to play Color Times Malice for quite a while, but we've been getting distracted because I played Piofiore and then the Piofiore sequel, and then we also played Diabolic Lovers Chaos Lineage together.
Yeah. That was an interesting experience, I will say.
Diabolic Lovers Chaos Lineage?
Well, Diabolic Lovers as a series in itself is interesting. Because, so from my perspective, because of the way that I watched you, basically I watched you play through all the games. I didn't play them myself.
Not all the games. I haven't played the second to last one.
Which one is that?
I accidentally skipped one. It's called Lost Eden. I own it now, but I haven't played it yet.
That's the one where we find out who Kino is.
Yes, and then we ended up playing Chaos Lineage, where that takes place before Lost Eden, but
somehow you have to know who Kino is.
Yeah, so that was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, and I think that series is interesting. Like I said, I had only watched the first season of the anime, and that was great and really terrible. It was so bad.
That's kind of Diabolic Lovers in a nutshell. Great, but really terrible.
Yeah. It's so terrible.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah. I think the thing that I like the most about it is how awful Yui is as a protagonist. Like, at least now when I play Otome games, I have this expectation going in that I want a character that I can actually, like...
Relate to? Yeah,
relate to. Or kind of understand the decisions or understand kind of even the stock answers about what they would say.
Yeah.
But with Yui... I don't relate to her at all. I don't get why she says the things she says. And like you said before, you've said this multiple times, where the same answer when you make a decision could be like 3 ways of saying the same thing.
Exactly. And it's really funny because since like these games are not localized, they're all in Japanese. And the answer choices that you have will be either like etto or ano, which basically both mean but one of them is the right answer and one of them is the wrong answer, and it's always a combination of those, or it's like you have to say ano or say nothing at all.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day, either way she's saying nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one is the right answer and one is the wrong answer,
exactly.
So it makes it impossible to figure out what you're supposed to choose.
Yeah, you have to use a guide. I mean, granted, when I play Otome games, I always use a guide, especially if I want to unlock everything.
Yeah, we're both completionists.
But, yeah, with Yui as a protagonist, I don't vibe with her, but I find it fascinating the situation she ends up in.
Yeah.
Because of all of the allies.
Because of Karl Heinz.
Because of Karl Heinz.
Yeah, because of Karl
Yeah.
Heinz. So for those of you who have never played Diabolic Lovers, because there's a chance that these games have never been localized. They're really famous,
Yeah.
but they've never been localized into English, and they probably never will be localized into English because number one, like the storyline is just not something that would vibe with mainstream Western audiences,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about why in a little bit. But number two is that the company that creates the games doesn't really seem interested in localizing games in general.
What's the company called?
It's Rejet.
Rejet.
Yeah, it's through Otome, but it's Rejet, and they really don't localize very many games. But basically, the protagonist is this girl Yui, and in the first game, like her father, who is a priest or a pastor or someone, he it drops her off in front of this like giant house, giant scary house, and says, "You're going to live here from now on." And Yui says, "Okay, that sounds good to me," as one does when you're a 16-year-old girl dropped off in the middle of nowhere in front of a creepy house. And she knocks on the door and basically finds out that this house is filled with 6 vampire brothers. And she has to live with them and go to high school with them, and they're all really, really, really horrible people. And they all have lots of problems, and it's mostly because their dad is a complete and utter manipulative asshole. He is also the king of the vampires, so they're all prince vampires?
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah.
It's fine. This is not going to be a safe for work podcast. We are going to swear. We're probably going to be talking about dicks a lot. So, I mean, we yeah.
I'll do my best, but no guarantees.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. They're all really messed up, and Yui does not make decisions. Her character is she like was raised in the church. She's supposed to be like super innocent and see all the good in people, and therefore like it's always really frustrating for you as a player, because the first time I played this game, I was just like, what in the world is this girl doing? Like, why can't I make her make normal decisions? Because she'd get into situations where she'd like knock on one of the brothers' doors, and they would open the door and be like, "Why are you here? I don't want you to be here." And she'd be like, "Well, I want to talk to you." And they'd be like, "You shouldn't come in here. If you come in here, I am going to suck your blood." And she's like, "Oh, wait, what? Really?" And she'll like walk into the room, and they'll be like, "I told you, so now I'm gonna suck your blood." And she's like, "Oh no."
So stupid. Oh my god. Yeah, that's true too. And every time it happens, it's like a surprise to her.
That's true.
We're talking about the beginning of the series, right? But once you go through a couple routes and you've gone through a couple games, like you have an established relationship, or Yui has an established relationship with all allies. And once you're like boyfriend and girlfriend, she even becomes surprised that they suck her blood at that point. Even though it's like romantic, supposedly.
Yeah, sucking blood is like second and third base in this game.
Yeah, but once they get to second and third base, it's like she doesn't know what's happening, even though they must have been together for years by the time Chaos Lineage happens.
You know, it's really interesting because you can, in every single game, you can read the profiles of them, and there are like, I want to say 6 games, maybe 7 games at this point, because there are a whole bunch of fan discs as well. But in every single game, they're the same age.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't. But you know, it's one of those things where I think you're just supposed to like ignore the continuity issues because there is no way that everything in all of these games happened in less than a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they just completely ignore time altogether.
Yeah,
it's like they're on their own plane or own, I don't know. I can't think of the word right now.
Yeah, but... and I mean, we're not even counting all of the drama CDs, because there are a lot of drama CDs. We've never listened to any of the drama CDs. They're a little bit harder to get in the United States.
That's true.
We'd need to go to Japan.
Yeah.
Which we don't do that often anymore.
No, well, not since COVID. But normally we would. When you were living in Japan, you'd bring home...
Yeah,
for me to play.
Yeah, I'd be able to go
really
to
nice.
Otome Road in Ikebukuro and get whatever you wanted.
Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah, thank you. Except you didn't usually want the Diabolic Lovers stuff. You usually wanted other stuff.
Yeah, I have different tastes, I suppose. Although I will say the Diabolic Lovers art is up my alley.
Yeah, that's your aesthetic.
It's very pretty.
And you like the games just because you get this weird sense of Schadenfreude and you get really involved in the characters.
I do. The love interests are really interesting. Their stories are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have there's this whole, like you said, there's this whole lore behind it. But the thing that gets me is Yui every time. You know? She's the worst protagonist, but also, like, it's really just great to experience it through a blank slate, I guess.
Yeah.
So
and it's really interesting because a lot of people actually like Yui.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I can see why. Like, she does have this innocence and like she sees the good in people, and I think that's attractive to especially younger players, like the people who play it who are younger, but we are not young anymore. We have lost that innocence, and now we want to know why the MC does not have common sense.
That's true. Yeah. I do agree, though, that I do like her openness and her innocence and her kindness, because she is. Like, whenever something bad happens to the guys, the first thing she wants to do is help them.
Yeah.
Albeit, you know, in every situation they end up drinking her blood without her consent, but still, she's trying to be helpful.
Sometimes there is consensual blood sucking. Once they start dating,
yes,
there's quite a bit
true.
of consensual blood
That's
sucking
true.
once they start dating.
That's a good point. Okay. Consent is important. We might talk about that another time.
But, Diabolic Lovers and consent does not always go hand in hand.
No. But, you know, that's what you get when you sign up.
To live in a house with 6 really fucked up vampire brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
And occasionally you live in a different house with 4 other fucked up vampire brothers, and occasionally you live in a castle that has 2 fucked up werewolf brothers.
Yeah.
Depends on which route you go with.
Yeah.
Diabolic Lovers is also one of those series that as the game goes on, it's like they couldn't help but add more characters.
That's true, because at the very beginning it was the original
Yeah.
set.
The first game is the original 6.
Yeah.
And then there's a fan disc that is just the original 6. The Sakamaki brothers. Those are the princes. And then in the sequel, they add 4 more. They add another household, which interestingly enough, the other household was actually raised by the Sakamaki brothers' father.
Right.
So that's a whole thing.
By Karl Heinz.
Yeah, they were raised by Karl Heinz. So you could either be with the Sakamaki households, or you could go to the Mukami household, which is the 4 new brothers. And then there's another fan disc with those 10. And then you get a third game where they add these 2 werewolf brothers. Well, they call them Shiso. They're like the first blood, but they're werewolves. One of them literally turns into a wolf.
Yes.
And one
eye-patched guy.
Yes. Shin has an eye patch. He has an eye patch. He has glasses,
right?
He has pink hair, and when he turns into a wolf, he still has the eye patch. So that's a thing. But with the 2 werewolf brothers, with Carla and Shin, the older one is actually a king. And then Shin is a prince.
Right.
So you've got all of these like royalty and so by the third game you've got 12 allies, and then you've got another fan disc after that, and then you get another main game where they add in Kino. So you actually, altogether, there are 13 allies in Diabolic Lovers.
No wonder it took us so long to finish Chaos Lineage.
Yeah, Chaos Lineage has 13 allies, but honestly, each route is a lot shorter.
That's true than the original games.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
is absolutely true.
Yeah, you could get through. I mean, it's in the Japanese games. Obviously, take me a lot longer to get through than any localized games I play, just because my Japanese is not perfect. But like, it's still like one route in, say, Piofiore would take me maybe a week and a half, but Diabolic Lovers would probably only take me a couple of days.
Yeah. That's true. It wouldn't take that long.
You can't have long routes if you have too many allies.
And they're pretty linear. right? You don't have to like hop back and forth between decision making a lot.
That's another thing about Diabolic Lovers. It's a very linear game. You don't have like branch off routes. You never have like long prologues where you have to make a lot of decisions, and then at the end you can unlock people.
Yeah.
You start out and they're like, okay, these are the characters, who do you want to go after? And with each decision, there are different chapters, and there's one decision per chapter, and you only have two choices.
Yeah.
And then there are two ends.
Yeah.
So you've got the good end or the bad end.
Yes. I feel like games that I've been playing recently are more of the type where you have to play a route once and then go back, and then you have a second option that shows up after you've done one or two routes. I like the fact that at least with Diabolic Lovers you can kind of just choose your character and go.
Yeah.
Like you free range.
Yeah, you really don't have to pay attention to the walkthrough. You don't have to worry about missing any CGs or any ends.
Yeah.
It's not like it has a bajillion ends. Oh my gosh, I remember playing the old Quinn Rose games. All of the old Quinn Rose games, every single game that they had and every single route in every game had like 13 ends. And it was really difficult to go back and get the ends because they were also sometimes a little bit buggy. So you couldn't necessarily trust the walkthroughs. I remember in one of the original Alice in the Land of Hearts games, I forget which one it was, but I was going after Boris, the Cheshire Cat, and I never got one end just because like I saw like 5 different ways to get this specific end in walkthroughs, and none of them worked.
Wow.
So, but Ultimate and Rejet, they tend to be really good at making things very clear about what you need to do in order to get the different ends.
Yeah.
It's not gonna take you like a bajillion tries, and I think the most ends I've ever seen are like 9 ends, and in most of those you just like die and that's it. You die a lot for those of you who are new to Ultimate games, you will die a lot.
Yes.
And I know that sounds kind of weird because it's like a romance game for girls.
True. I remember talking to a friend of mine who I was explaining like, yeah, I play Otome games. I'm like, what's an Otome game? So I have to go through the whole thing and kind of explain what happens. But as soon as I say something along the lines of, yeah, and my favorite part is when you like get murdered or bludgeoned to death, they kind of looked at me like, wait, what kind of game is this? And I have to explain, oh, well, they're actually quite dark now.
Yeah. There are definitely fluffy and light ones. Yeah. But nowadays it is much, much, much more common for them to be darker. And I know that that's been kind of a topic of conversation in the Ultimate Game fandom because there are a lot of people who do like the fluffy light things. For example, Hana Spring, you do not die in that game. It's a game about you returning to your hometown and trying to help your family's like onsen, and like it's light, it's cute, it's fluffy. There's some drama, but you're not gonna suddenly get stabbed to death by Jack the Ripper.
Yes, you're not.
Which happens.
That happened
in another game.
That really surprised me.
Yeah, I'm sorry that Jack the Ripper murdered you. Yeah, I've never gotten murdered by Jack the Ripper. I've gotten murdered by plenty of other people. Yeah. Including the LIs.
Yeah, including your LI.
Yeah.
That's actually more common.
Yan. Well, I meant Yan the character.
Oh, Yan the character? Who is a Yan?
He's not a Yan. Nicola's the Yan.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so I will say that my not so favorite trope, at least for Otome game LIs, is yanderes. I do not care for a yandere too much.
And I know exactly why you feel that way because you played Amnesia.
Yeah.
And you were really, really, really mad at a certain person's end.
Yes, I was so mad. Ugh, that game drove me crazy. It was so fun though. It was a really fun game. And they also gave you friends. I really love when Otome games give you female friends.
Yes. Okay. So going back to Diabolic Lovers really quickly, Yui has no friends. The end. It's just her and a bunch of dudes who like want to suck her blood.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. It's really great when Ultimate games will actually like give you some female friends to talk to. I was really happy when Hakuoki did that. I was really happy that Piofiore did that. I was really happy that Collar Times Malice did that.
Yeah. We had friends in Amnesia as well. The game that I can never remember the title of.
Code Realize.
Code Realize.
There was Queen Victoria.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call her a friend.
But she was a female character.
So.
Ooh, did talking to her pass the Bechdel test? Did you...
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you talked to her about something other than a dude.
Than a dude, right. Yeah, no, I mean, at that time, the country's about to, like, go to war or whatever. There's a whole thing.
So Queen Victoria did not have time.
Not interested in
but then again, Code Realize is one of those Otome games that isn't super romance heavy.
No, it's really not. It's very plot heavy, and the romance is just kind of like an added aspect. And I think those are mostly my favorite kinds of Otome games, where it's not too just date necessarily, but you get like a lot of background story, which is why I really liked playing why I'm currently liking playing Color Times Malice.
Color Times Malice, the story is so great.
Yeah,
we are not done with Color Times Malice. We are 2 routes away from being done with Color Times Malice.
But I really like the fact that you can start, and she has her like own thing going on. You know, she's got a job, girl gets paid, you know,
she
takes
does
care of her brother, she gets shit done, and her life doesn't necessarily revolve around the LI. But when I played like Amnesia, say for example, she doesn't know who she is.
No.
And that she has to interact with people.
She literally
to
has
remember
amnesia.
Who she is. Yeah, she literally has amnesia. And it pretty much centers around each guy. Although she does have a job too. But I don't know. I think I like the mystery working aspect of Color Times Malice. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's so the thing is, I feel like in the older Otome games, that wasn't really a thing.
That's true.
Like, I'm thinking back to, like, the Tokimeki Memorial Girls side, like, the seriously, like, OG Otome games, and literally the only thing it revolved around was you being a high school girl trying to, like, date this man.
Yeah.
And that was it. Or, like, the first Otome game that I ever played was, it was the Prince of Tennis Otome game, Gakuen Sai no Oji-sama. So, the prince of the school festival. And it was literally, it took place over the course of 2 weeks, and you were a high school girl who was, like, trying to set up the school festival with the tennis club. And the only thing that you had to do was, like, stalk the guy you were going after and play mini games.
So that you could end up dating him.
Yeah. So that he confessed to you.
Just basically throw yourself at him until he can't say no.
Yeah. And then there are also the stat building games, which I don't think are as popular anymore. There are still some. But I know that so Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side was a stat building game. There was another one, Kiniro no Koruda.
I never played either of those.
Yeah. I tried playing that one on the PS2, but that was really difficult because I didn't understand any Japanese at that time. And so I didn't really understand what I had to do, but that was a stat raising game. There's another one coming out. Do you know if Jacques Jean is a stat raising game?
Oh, I don't know if it's a stat raising game, actually.
I think it might
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So there are still stat raising games, but I feel like it's more common to have the plot heavy, you know, just go through the stories, make the correct choices, and if you don't make the correct choices, then you or the LI will die.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because in the case of the going through the stories, it's kind of like you're enjoying the experience and you don't have a lot of, like, what's the word? Action, you know, like initiative, or I can't think of the right word right now, but you don't have the ability to really change the course of what's happening, you know, like you at least with the stat building games, you basically get to say, like, what's high and what's low. You get to spend your time doing things that raise your stats, so you have a little bit more intention behind it. But I still prefer the novel-based games because at least for me, I'm a big reader, so I prefer to just experience the story as it is.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I don't really need to like gamify it in any other way.
And you get to die in all sorts of
And
interesting
I get to
ways.
die so many times, so many ways. It's the most exciting.
You know, one thing that we should definitely talk about at some point is, you know, our favorite bad ends.
Yeah. Oh, that'll definitely be a topic.
There are so many.
There are so many of them. I'll have to go through all the games that I've played and figure out how many times and how many ways I've died.
I mean, I'd have to go back and like there are some bad ends in Diabolic Lovers that really, really stuck with me, just because they were creative.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I like it when they're creative for sure.
Like getting murdered by Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
That was definitely
getting stabbed to death.
That was definitely a thing.
So, thanks for listening, everyone. Please let us know what you thought and if you have anything you'd like us to discuss in the future.
And please don't forget to subscribe to us both here and to other social media. Links are in the details.
Bye!
Bye.